Are you God's VIP? What a great message, Brother Pio, and thank you so much for sharing it. And I just want to dive right in. From the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And brothers and sisters, as we consider what the kingdom of heaven is like, its upside down kingdom message, we have to look back at Jesus' time. And at Jesus' time, when we looked at it, the priests, the Sadducees were the rich. They had the wealth. They're some of the richest people of the time. And they considered themselves the blessed. And the poor, the sick, disabled, they considered them the cursed, the unloved by God. And as we look at this, Jesus goes and flips it upside down and he says, no, you're the VIPs, you who are poor. See, brothers and sisters, as we reflect on both Matthew chapter 5 and the blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, let us also look at Luke, who says, the poor. And the answer really truly is both are the VIPs. Both are the VIPs. And when we consider that and we look at that, we have to really think about how are we looking at the measuring stick we're using. And when we look at the measuring stick we're using right now, we're so into our celebrities, we're so into our stars, our athletes, and we're watching them and following them on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and we're measuring based on what we see. And we're using the world's measuring stick. And the problem with this, brothers and sisters, is that if we don't properly understand what it's doing, if we just think it's all fun and games, maybe we're not paying attention to the doubt, despair, and darkness that is taking over right now in our children. See, right now, brothers and sisters, if you look it up, there has been a lot of teenage suicides, and it's increasing. And the question really comes down to why? Because they may be using the wrong measuring stick. And my question is, where are they learning this measuring stick? And do they have any other measuring stick to use? See, brothers and sisters, the reality of using the world's measuring stick, there's two problems. The first problem is we'll never measure up. You will never measure up to the world's measuring stick. There is always more. There is always someone prettier. There is always someone taller. There is always someone richer. There is always someone more powerful. You will never measure up. And you cannot judge your life based on someone's highlight reel that they're crafting for you to see. Brothers and sisters, do not use the wrong measuring stick and instead use God's measuring stick. See, when we use God's measuring stick, God was talking, when he gave that sermon, he was talking to the people that they considered were losers with a big L. And when he talked to them, these people, and he told them, no, you're my VIPs. God is telling you, you are my VIPs, those who are poor and poor in spirit. But brothers and sisters, the problem is, the truth is that in our world right now, we're not considering the poor as the VIPs. We consider the celebrities that who have all the money, who have all the power and fame. And so when we chase after them and then we teach our children to chase after them and buy all the materials to think that it will keep on giving satisfaction and happiness, it's a never-ending game. It will always be more. And so right now, brothers and sisters, my challenge to you is to use God's measuring stick to turn the L for loser into an L for love. Now, can we do that? And I know you're saying amen. I know you want to turn the measuring stick around because you don't want to face the second problem. See, when we use the measuring stick of this world, the second problem is you could end up being rude to God's VIPs. See, right now, brothers and sisters, maybe you're looking at those who are poor and not feeling that they're the VIPs. Maybe we might treat them wrong. Or how about the poor in spirit who are going through trials and tribulations and struggles? Maybe you might not be able to understand them. Are we being rude to God's VIPs? And see, brothers and sisters, when we use the world's measuring stick, the problem is that we might hold ourselves to to that stick. And how can you be happy if it'll never fulfill you? But when you use God's measuring stick, you'll stop looking down at yourself. You'll stop looking down at others as well. Why? Because now you feel happiness, you feel fulfillment. You're connected to the source of love. And when you're connected to the source of love, you only give out love. Amen. So let us give out love. But let us remind ourselves and really drive home the point that we need to understand that even the apostles reflected on this. And so from the book of James, chapter 2, verses 2 through 5, for example, suppose someone comes into your meeting dressed in fancy clothes and expensive jewelry, and another comes in who is poor and dressed in dirty clothes. If you give special attention and a good seat to the rich person, but you say to the poor one, you can stand over there or sit on the floor, well, doesn't this discrimination show that your judgments are guided by... That's a tough message. And he reflects and continues on. Listen to me, dear brothers and sisters. Hasn't God chosen the poor in this world to be rich in faith? Aren't they the ones who inherit the kingdom He promised to those who love Him? Brothers and sisters, He is echoing the first beatitude, the number one beatitude. And when He echoes it, we must remind ourselves, are you God's VIP? Are you allowing yourself to be poor in spirit, knowing you put all of your trust in God? And this is where I want to send this message, and the point that I really want to make, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this, you are most likely not poor. But I pray that you are poor in spirit and giving God control, that you allow the battery of God, which is much better battery than the Energizer Bunny has. This is a battery that has infinite energy, infinite power for you. But when you tap into it and you say yes to God, you will have that energy. And I want to reflect at the beginning of Corona, at the beginning of the lockdown for Corona, we didn't know anything we know now about video editing, about the programs or the tools. We didn't even have the tools. But because we said yes to God, God provided. God gave us provision. God gave us new computers. God gave us, and these were donations from people who had seen the work we're putting in. God gave us so much so that we could carry His work. When you say yes to God and you're so poor in spirit and you say, God, I can't do anything without you, you are God's VIP. And as we continue to build this feast at home, brothers and sisters, I call to you to be poor in spirit and say yes to God, to serve God and say, yes, God, I need you. And whatever you ask me to do, I will do it, God. And there is a chance for you to give, and allow us to give you that opportunity to give and serve God. And I don't know what season you're in. I don't know your struggles. I know, brothers and sisters, I don't know what's going on in your life, but you have a chance to be a blessing. You have a chance to give and give God control and answer God's call, to understand that you are called to make disciples of all nations. And how? Brothers and sisters, you have a choice. I don't know where you're at, but there's so many ways to give, and I'll give you a few examples. Right now, we need people to serve. We need ministers. We need people to help us build this community. And if you're looking to serve, if you're looking to give time, because that's what you have, then give that. Maybe you have a talent and you want to share that talent. Maybe you can sing. Maybe you're a great preacher. Maybe you have this talent that was given to you. Use God's gift, brothers and sisters, and share it. Let us know that you can share your talent with us so we can show the world what God's gift to you is, and use that. Or maybe it is monetary. Maybe you have the means. Let us use that monetary funds that you have access to, so we can build upon that love offering and be able to help the poor through Anna Wim and through our Light of Jesus foundations. Maybe we can also use it to build this ministry and help reach out to more people if you think this message is worthy of that. Whatever it is, inquire and ask us and let us know your feedback. We are here to work with you so you can have the opportunity to give and be poor of spirit and let God be in control. Brothers and sisters, I just hope and pray that this message is truly God's will. And if it is God's will and you're hearing it, I pray you will answer to it. You will hear the knock, you will hear the phone call, and you will answer it. Don't send it to voicemail. And allow us to help you build. As we build, let us all build our lives on God.